Hey everybody, I'm gonna go through a little homework help. I'm seeing a little trouble with things, so thought I'd go through some pyramid stuff. So for my number one, you might have different numbers, but change them as necessary. Remember our surface area formula is 1/2 times the perimeter of the base times the slant height plus the area of the base. So the perimeter looks like we have a square pyramid. So our perimeter is going to be 4 times 11. Our slant height, which is given to us, is 10. And the area of our base, again, the area of the base, which is a square, so it's going to be 11 times 11. So it looks like I get 44. That's 10. That's 121. So for our surface area, for my first one, looks like I get 1/2 times 44 times 10 plus 121 is 22 times 10 is 220 plus 121. I get 341 for my first answer. So for the first question, it looks like it is mostly just plugging in numbers into the formula. For the second problem, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. I want to erase everything here. Okay. So this one, similar idea. We can find the perimeter of the base, the slant height, and the area of the base. It looks like all the sides are 18, and it looks like a hexagon. So to find the perimeter, it's 6 times 18, which is 108. Slant height, looks like they give us the slant height again. Very nice of them. That's 18. The area of our base, remember for regular polygons, the area of a regular polygon is 1/2 times apothem times perimeter. Our apothem, which we're actually told in this problem, is 9 square root of 3. Perimeter we did above, that's 108. And at this point, we're going to need a calculator, as it says it wants the nearest whole number at the end. But the surface area is going to be 1/2 times the perimeter times the slant height plus our area of our base, which is 1/2 times 9 root 3 times 108. Not the nicest numbers in the world. I gotta take out my calculator and so 108 times 18 divided by 2 is 972. 9 times 108 divided by 2, so that was not looking good, plus 486 root 3. Now, it doesn't want us to type that in. It says it wants us to round the final answer, so 972 plus 486 square root of 3. My calculator spits out about 1,813.7766. The question wants to the nearest whole number. Therefore, I'm going to type in 1814. Let's see what we get. I guess I should have hid this a while ago. Let's check my answer. There we go. So that question number 2, similar idea, just not a square pyramid. All right, find the lateral area. This is where we're starting to get a little tricky. So I am going to draw the idea of what the lateral surface area is. The lateral area are all of these triangles. We have a formula for this. It's 1/2 perimeter times slant height. Here's the thing about this problem. We are not given the slant height like we have been in the first two. The perimeter is still a little bit easier to figure out. It looks like the side length is 12. So there's 6 sides. Side lengths are 12, so it looks like the perimeter is 72. But to find the slant height, looks like we have to deal with the right triangle. So it looks like they're telling us that's 11. This is 6 square root of 3, and this is our slant height. In a right triangle, if we have 2 sides and 1/3, what do we need to do? Pythagorean theorem. So 11 squared plus 6 square root of 3 squared equals L squared. This is 121. Now for the second one. I hope that if you type this in your calculator before I say the answer, you get the right thing. What you shouldn't get, is 18. If you type it in correctly, you will get, oops, I already wrote it wrong. I'm sorry. It's 108. So we get 229 is the slant height squared, so L is the square root of 229. Now it wants us to round the answer, but not until we're done. So I'm actually just going to plug in the numbers 72 and the square root of 229. Type that in my calculator. I get about 544.7788. Problem wants us to round to the nearest whole number, so I'm over in my homework. So I think mine would be 545. So for this one, we needed to find the slant height, and almost every single time you're finding a slant height, you're probably going to have to use Pythagorean theorem. So let's clear this and move on to the next one. All right, so next pyramid, find the surface area of the pyramid to the 100th place. Looks like we are not given the slant height. So we need 1/2 times the perimeter times the slant height plus the area of the base. The perimeter of the base. The base is a square. So the perimeter is going to be 4 times 6 for my problem, which is 24. The area of the base, which is 6 times 6, side times side, which is 36. Now we just need to find the slant height. All right, here we go. Me drawing my terrible pyramids. All right, there's our pyramid, and we have the height of the pyramid up through the center is 8. And we have this length across the base is 6. And we need to find this slant height, which goes right down the center of that triangle. So we have this height up to the top, and we have the slant height, which goes from the point, the vertex at the top, down to the base this way. And what do we notice? I'm hoping you see the right triangle. This is what we're trying to find. Now the bottom, got to be careful with that. It is not 6. This height of the pyramid is going straight down. And for a square pyramid, that actually goes to the middle. So that's going to be 3. So how do we find L? Just like in the last problem, Pythagorean theorem. So it looks like the slant height is whatever the square root of 73 is. Now it wants us to round, so I'm going to plug in these 3 numbers, into our formula, and I'll round right at the end. So this is going to be 12 times whatever the square root of 73 is. We're going to add that to 36. If I type that into my calculator, looks like I'm getting just about 138.5280449. Now it says it wants it to the 100th place, which is right there, but we got to round that up. And it looks like I am getting 138.53. All right, two more. Oops, don't worry about that, my bad. All right, the lateral area of a pyramid with a square base is 1040. So we have a square pyramid. I'm actually going to fold this down to its net. This is going to help me think about this. Where's the lateral area? It's the area of all these triangles. And the area of those four triangles, which are all the same because of this being a regular base, they each have an area, or I guess altogether they have an area of 1040. The base's edge is 20 inches long. We got to find the height of the pyramid. So we basically have to figure out the area of these triangles so that we can find the slant height. Because why would we need the slant height? Oh dear, that's not looking so great. Let's try that again. If you're drawing your pyramid, if we have the height and we know, or excuse me, we want to find the height. If we want the height and we know this length here, if we have the slant height, we can make the right triangle through the center. So we got to find that slant height. So we have 4. So our lateral area, which is 1/2 times perimeter times slant height, and that's equal to 1040. Well, what's the perimeter? If the base's edge is 20, that means the perimeter has to be 4 times 20, which is 80. 1/2 times 80 is 40. Divide by 40, and we hope that we get a nice answer. I got 26 for my problem. So if the slant height is 26, which is that triangle right there, how long is it across the bottom? Well, it's not 20. The whole way across the bottom is 20, excuse me. For this triangle that we're trying to use to find the height, halfway across is going to be 10. And we want to find the height of the pyramid. So we're going to use Pythagorean theorem again. 10 squared plus height squared equals 26 squared. Or you might recognize a Pythagorean triple. If you don't, that's okay. Get 100 plus h squared equals, what's 26 squared? I don't even know. 676, which means h squared is 576, which if you take the square root of that, we get 24. So let's see if the height of my pyramid is 24. It is. So this one, we had to find the slant height and set up a right triangle. Jeez Louise. That's a little tough. All right, final question. Find the surface area. All right, so here's the thing. We have a compound shape right now. We're putting 2 together. This is a little tricky. So we got to think about what areas we have. We have a pyramid, but we don't have its base. So we're just going to find the lateral area of the top. So that means we're going to need the perimeter, or 1/2 perimeter times the slant height. Then we have a rectangular prism underneath, but we're not going to consider the top of it. It's kind of like an open box because that area is not open to the world. It's covered up. So we're going to find the lateral area of the prism, kind of in the middle here. And then finally, the last thing we need to find is the area of the bottommost base, that square at the bottom. And we're going to add all these together. So I'm going to start with the bottom, the easiest part. We have a square on the bottom. It's 10 by 10, so the area is 100. Then we have the sides of the rectangular prisms. We're just adding 4 more rectangles. Do we remember how we found that 2 days ago? That was perimeter times height. What's the perimeter of the bottom? 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10, it's 40, times our height, which is, in this case, the up and down length, that's 11. So 40 times 11 is 440. And then we just need to find the lateral area of the top, and this is where it gets a little tricky. We know what the perimeter is. We just did it. It's 40, but we got to find the slant height again. So we got to use another right triangle. It looks like it tells us that the height of the pyramid is 10. If we take that half triangle, that's 5 across the bottom, and then to find the slant height, we need to use Pythagorean theorem one more time. 10 squared plus 5 squared equals L squared. 100 plus 25 equals L squared. So it looks like my L is the square root of 125. Now, since we're rounding our answer, I'm not going to simplify this one as I haven't been simplifying the others. I'm going to plug it in and we're going to round to see what we get. So our total surface area, which is the lateral area of the pyramid, plus the lateral area of the prism, plus the bottom base, it's going to look like this. 1/2 times 40 times the square root of 125 plus 440 plus 100. I'm going to type all of that into my calculator, and let's see what I get. I get about 763.60679. And it wants us to round to the nearest whole number, so it looks like my final answer is 764. Okay. Hopefully me going through these homework problems helps out a little bit. Looks like some of these are tricking some of us up, so hopefully this is going to be useful.